was thinking of climbing it. It's been here for a long time.
Well, you should take it.
ACI 4 plus 5. So, alright. We'll do it in Tibet. Turn G to you on the No. Happens though, but not today. So, just close your eyes for a moment. And as you breathe in, you draw an imaginary line from the left corner of your mouth up to the spot between your eyebrows. And then as you exhale, you draw a line from the spot between your eyebrows down to the right corner of your mouth. And then as you inhale from the right corner up to the spot between your eyebrows. And as you exhale, you go down again to the left corner of your mouth. So keep going like that with your breath. Slow it down at your own pace. Breathe like that for a while. Now your next inhale, you take both corners of the mouth and draw it up to the spot between your eyebrows. And then you go back to alternating. again from both corners of the mouth. Up. And down. And back to alternating. So, talking about omniscience today. If the screen goes black, is it still working?
Yeah, because the green light's up there. The camera's
Um. Okay. So there's two kinds of things in the universe, right? Changing and unchanging things. In Tibetan, Mitapa is changing, and Tapa is unchanging. Which is kind of backwards that Mitapa is changing, just to confuse us. I think it is kind of an error in the Tibetan language, because normally when they do me or min or something, it would make it like, it would change the word, you know? But anyways, it's often translated as permanent, unchanging. Unchanging is often, so tapa is often translated as permanent, unchanging. Permanent and impermanent, right? But we're sticking to changing and unchanging because unchanging is not the same thing as permanent. Why not? You know. Hi, Carol. Come in. You want to give that a shot? Why?
Well, because an unchanging thing might not change, but it still has to die at some point. No, that doesn't make sense.
So what's unchanging? Name something unchanging.
Emptiness.
Emptiness, yeah. Emptiness. You know, you're close there actually, because emptiness can go out of existence.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's not permanent.
So it's not permanent. Because when this cup goes out of existence, the emptiness goes out of existence. Right? So therefore, it's tricky.
So you were looking for something unchanging and permanent?
Am I mixing it up already now? I was talking about the translation, just that they're saying, when they talk about permanent, it usually, they translate it,
Yeah, they call unchanging and permanent sometimes.
right?
Yeah.
I said that wrong. Right.
No, you said it right, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you said it right.
So when something goes out of existence, the emptiness goes out of existence, so it's not permanent. And you know, we're changing things. unchanging things, we think they might not go out of existence, but they can. Emptiness. If an object goes out of existence, the emptiness goes out of existence, right?
Yeah.
Because the emptiness would be like a characteristic of the object. So therefore, we stick to changing and unchanging things to keep that more clear. Okay, we don't use translation permanent. So the emptiness of the cup is not permanent, but it is unchanging. Okay? And a synonym for mitakva is a functioning thing. Anything which is produced or can be destroyed by the instant.
Page 9.
Sorry, the synonym was
Functioning.
functioning.
Functioning thing. Right? Working thing. Functioning thing. Anything that is produced or will go out of existence is a synonym for mitakva, for changing thing. And someone in class in the audio asked, should we know mitakva and takva? Should we bother learning the Tibetan words? And Geshe Michael Roach says, yeah, you should actually, because it puts an imprint in our consciousness, plants a seed. Whether you get it right now, it doesn't matter, but it's good for later. In the Kangir and the Tangir, the scriptures, they always put the Sanskrit before the Tibetan. And the first Dalai Lama says that once you become a Buddha, you automatically speak Sanskrit. So it must have something to do with that imprint, seeing that over and over again, right?
What did you say, that when you see emptiness?
No, when you become a Buddha.
Okay, then you know
speak
Sanskrit
Yeah.
automatically.
But then again, you know all things when you become a Buddha, so
Just while speaking Japanese.
I think you could. Anyways, but it's good, right? Planting that seed. It's a very holy language. I took a course with a Tibetan teacher, just a few classes, but I always think about it, and I love just the way that they treat the language. They see it as a holy language, right? Here we are taught not to put scriptures on the floor. We always put it on something to respect. There they don't even put newspapers on the floor, in Tibet, because the script is the script of holiness, right? So for me, like Tibetan, even though I don't understand the word of it, it feels very special, right? So I actually started to treat our language the same way and not, throw stuff with writing on it. Like, I kind of like that, because words, it's empty, right? It can be anything, so why not treat it like it's all holy, even though it might just be a scrap of newspaper, right? If I had a different karma, I would see that as something amazing in writing too. So I'd like to shift my karma to see that, right? So I think it's helpful to treat anything written like that. But that's just on the side.
To comment on translation too.
Sorry?
To comment on translation, when we translate, we rely on the translator,
Yeah.
right? And it's not direct then. And that's one thought. And I want to get into that argument of, certain languages not being translatable, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get big over there, but I just think there is value in thinking of the concept as a kind of like a whole that a cultural whole, or a word is a cultural whole.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So what's omniscience?
Knowing past, present, future, all at once.
Yeah, knowing all things at once. Yeah. And that ties into pramana, which we've talked about, right? Correct perception. And only a Buddha has this correct perception and knows all things. So today we're exploring a little bit what it means, omniscience, and we're being challenged by a school, an ancient Indian school called the Sharvakas. And they are bringing up a statement that we're going to look into and see if that can be true or not. And the interesting thing is that what they say is something that we believe as a society quite a bit. We have a lot of Christian influences in our thinking, so therefore it's relevant for us to explore this idea, which was pretty radical for the Tibetans to hear such a thing. For us, it's more normal, it's more close to home. So the Charvakas say that there is such a thing as omniscience, there is such a thing of knowing all things, but it comes along with being creator of the world. It comes along with being omnipotent, right? They say you cannot be omniscient, I can't really pronounce it, without being a creator of the world. They go together, those qualities. So they say that being omniscient and the creator of the world is unchanging, because it was always like that. This God, this creator of the world, didn't just come in existence, was always here. Therefore unchanging. That's what they say, the Sharvakas. Okay? And I think many people would agree with that statement here in our society. I know my parents would. So we are studying the book of Dharmakirti, right? So Dharmakirti says, okay, let's check this out. Let's see if such a thing is possible. So, where do you put mind into this idea of unchanging, omniscient creator? We say mind is changing all the time, right? If the Buddha is all-knowing, isn't there a sense that he's also unchanging? There were schools in Tibet that would say that the Buddha must be unchanging. But we say the Buddha is mitapa, changing.
Is he changing from his own side or my side? Because from my side he's changing as my perception deepens.
Yeah, that's a good question, so I'm going to answer that right now. Okay. Dharmakirti is going to answer it. So he says that the mind has 5 qualities, and he's only going into one of them, which is nempa. See nempa?
Nempa.
When you look at an object, this is what it means, Nempa. When you look at an object, your mind takes on a little quality of the object. So when you see something blue, then some quality, you take on a bit of blue for a second. Because then you, right? And then when the blueness is gone, the quality of blueness is gone. Okay? So when you can see it as a mirror. Imagine a mirror. I put something blue in front of the mirror. Then the mirror is changing. It takes on the blue for a second. Okay? When I take the blue away, the mirror no longer has the blue.
For a second. Sorry. I'm not arguing with Dharmakirti.
But listen. So when you have a mirror, you put something in front of it, the mirror takes on the quality for a moment. You can see the blue in the mirror now. When you take away the blue, you don't see the blue anymore. Make sense? Right? So that's what our mind is. Okay. So the mirror is the mirror. It's not happier or more sad when it has the blue in front of it. But it changes. The mirror changes because now there's blue, now there's not blue. So the mirror changes. Okay? So that's Nempa. You take on a quality. It doesn't like go into your, like it doesn't change you, but it does change in the sense of you're just taking on the blue for a second, like that, okay? It doesn't leak into the mind, but the object is imagined in the mind. The mind is soaked with the image of the object, and then when you take that image away, the object away, then it's no longer in the mind. Okay? That's the normal state of mind. I remember we're in the lower mind-only school right now. So Nempa means your mind is like a mirror. What is presented in front of the mind is reflected in the mind. So is the object, if the object that is presented in front of the mirror is changing, a changing object, then what happens to the mind? It changes. Yeah. Good. Got that? Took me a while to get that.
I was just using a different example in my mind. That's why I said for a second. And I just imagined like staring into a light, or staring into a candle as a meditation. And then when you look away, the imprint of how the candle looks and the colour is still there in your mind's eye. The visualization is some brightness or some candle is still there for a second, and then it's gone.
Yeah. When the candle is gone, then.
But it doesn't stay.
It won't stay. Yeah. That's very true. So when your mind is focusing on an object that changes, the mind is changing. Okay, we all agree on that. Good. So then, how does a Buddha change? The Buddha is like that mirror. The Buddha's perception doesn't change, but everything he sees changes.
Could you say that again?
The Buddha's perception doesn't change, but everything he sees changes.
What is the difference between perception and what he sees?
his perception is one that's a little bit hard for us to get right now.
That's fine. It's not the same.
No.
It's something different.
So his mind is luminous. Remember, I don't think, Carol, you were there, but you guys were there this week in Lama John's class, and he said, there's nothing to forgive when your mind has reached a certain place. And that ties into this. Because if your mind is just awake, aware, and all these things come and go in front of it, but you have no agenda with it, you're not afflicted by any of it, it just comes and goes. So when someone wants you to forgive, there's nothing to forgive.
So your perception doesn't change when you're a Buddha of like the all-knowing, all-seeing, the luminosity of the Buddha, but the actual, obviously, the things that present in front of him are always changing.
They're always changing. They're always coming and going.
But he maintains that perception.
He does. Yeah. Yet that is changing too, but not in the sense that a Buddha is invested in. There's no mental affliction. So right now we live on our afflictions. That's why we are here and perpetuating ourselves through eons of mental affliction. Ignorance, right? It's been our driving force. And the Buddha doesn't have that. So it's very different. Anyways, cook it. Just think about it at home. This. And you don't need to accept any of it right now. It's also planting a seed in your mind. And as these courses go along, more and more of it will make sense. It's good to think about it.
I think it really becomes a different premise of understanding.
Yeah.
It's a higher, different premise that we aspire to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay. If it's true that a mind that perceives a changing object is a changing mind, if it's true that a mind that perceives a changing object is a changing mind, then what about a mind perceiving an unchanging object? So if you perceive something unchanging, like the lack of an elephant in this room, is your mind unchanging? The lack of quality of an elephant in the room is unchanging because the elephant isn't here.
They could be here in a minute.
Could be.
And then
But while
mind
it's
will
not
change.
here, is your mind unchanging? Because you're reflecting an unchanging. Trenji says no.
I'm thinking that if you're perceiving emptiness, then your mind's not changing, but the elephant doesn't cut it, right?
If you're perceiving
Yeah.
emptiness directly, you mean? Your mind is not changing?
No,
Okay.
because your mind's not involved in it. It's outside of mind.
it depends what part of mind we're talking about. Are we talking about perception, or are we talking about observing objects coming and going? Sorry.
Okay. So your mind, if your mind is changing all the time, how can it stop changing for a second if you're trying to perceive like the emptiness of something, right? Your mind, here's what Dharmakirti said. The mind is changing when you focus on an unchanging thing, because your mind starts to engage, goes through the process of engaging, and then stops engaging in it, even when you have the direct perception of emptiness, right?
Isn't your mind stopped when you're having the direct perception?
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. I thought that it goes out when you see emptiness directly, it's outside of mind, and then when you come back to your senses and you realize, oh, I just had a direct.
And that's when it changes, though. So
it doesn't stop. I mean, it's outside of anything normal. That doesn't mean that nothing's going on while you have that perception, right?
I don't understand their understanding of the mind, because on the one hand, I've understood from classes that your mind can only do one thing at a time. It can't multitask. So even if you think you're multitasking, you're not. You're only focused on one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember in the meditation course, it was like you're reserving a part of your mind as a witness. So if you start to get dull or excited, then that witness is supposed to stop you and pull you back. So can you categorize the mind now and say this part's a witness?
I mean, it's still not happening at the same time, right? When you make a witness, and like there's not two things happening at once.
No, it's happening one after another in sequence,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, then the mind would be changing all the time.
Yeah. When your mind is focusing on something that is unchanging, then even that is change. We go through time, we go through, right? It's changing. You are engaged with it, and then you're not engaged with it. You're starting to get engaged with it, you engage with it, you stop getting. So it is changing, right? Mind is changing. Even if the object is unchanging. That's what Dharmakirti says. And,
so we're meant to be arguing this.
yeah, you can totally. I mean, the idea is to get you thinking, right?
Like it's
And the reading, this is all in the reading. This whole argument is in the reading. So it's not a matter of figuring it all right now. No, you think about it, you meditate on it, and you don't need to accept nothing right now at all. It's good to be a little bit challenged, right? The audio of this class is crazy. It was hard for me to prepare because the whole class is a big discussion. So it was hard for me to find out what I'm supposed to be talking about. Just because, yeah, they get all fired up and they ask so many questions. So it's good. It's good to think about it. Meditate on it. Okay, let me just see.
That's the purpose of this room.
Yeah. I mean, if we accept everything blindly, then we're not going to deeply understand, right? And my tendency is to not go there and just accept everything because I think it's easier, because it makes sense to me, so sure I accept it. But that's not, that's not the best way to go. The best way to go is to really question and think hard about it and meditate on it and figure it out. Because then when you do come to a conclusion, it will be, deep. Yeah.
Until you're confused again.
Until the next thing.
Until
Sure.
you're confused again.
Yeah, and it says right here, direct perception of emptiness is a state of mind that is also changing. So the direct cause of a Buddha's omniscience is omniscience of the moment before. The moment before turning into the next moment. That's a mind stream, right? Every moment flops over into the next moment. And to us it feels like that's the whole movie. But there's this process going. Okay? So the mind exists prior to omniscience. But there's a moment where the mind stream flips over into omniscience because of all the hard work you've done. Okay? And therefore omniscience is caused. This is what Dharmakirti says. You could not always have been omniscient. It's caused.
It's caused by caused
Yeah.
caused by
It's caused by omniscience. Is caused by all the things you've put into place to become omniscient, right? Which one of the big things is seeing emptiness directly prior. You cannot become omniscient if you haven't seen emptiness directly, according to the Buddhists, right? Not according to the Sharvakas. They are saying the Creator God has always been omniscient. Buddhists say no. Omniscience is caused.
Did you come in after the Sharvakas, Carol?
I'm sorry?
Did you come in after the Sharvakas?
Yes, I guess so.
You came in right when we started after the first definition.
Oh.
Takpa and takpa.
Because the beginning of the class that you may have missed that sentence where I said that an ancient Indian school called the Sharvakas, they said there's such a thing as omniscience, but omniscience comes along with being the creator of the world. That goes together.
Yeah.
So that's what we're arguing here. So we're saying the mind flips over into next moment of mind, and all the hard work that we do, learning how to get rid of our suffering, will eventually flop us over into becoming an omniscient being. Right?
And is seeing emptiness needed before one does that? Or
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's a part of it.
Because when you see emptiness directly, then the work really starts, because then you truly understand how ignorance has been driving your whole being. And you can see it very clearly that everything you do after you see emptiness directly now can be a cause for Buddha.
So emptiness we could see, but omniscience, I think that's one step up. And I'm hearing only the Buddha is omniscient. So there's only one Buddha? Or we can all be Buddhas, of course, right?
We can all.
Okay.
Yeah, and what does omniscience mean? It means that you know all things, past, future, present, all at the same time. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Should we take a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Okay, let's stretch.
I really enjoy your discussions and your thoughts. I really enjoyed your company. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, that's good. So I have to choose the 26th.
It's fine. I'm much more open now because I have part-time work, so I'm flexible. Normally Thursdays and Fridays off.
Okay. So just I'll be able to come to this class, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for
So does that mean like if we if we see ourselves as something
This is not.
unable to do something?
I thought it was. I didn't think it was very high level. I thought it was kind of. I just thought it was kind of.
And if that was oh, tell us that we're not.
Yeah, it's very irritating. So it tries to be so condescending and look at him. So I misperceived it.
You go back after you've taken a couple of courses. You go back and use it.
Will I? No. Maybe I will.
No, maybe you will not.
Oh my God.
In the time.
Yeah, probably do.
But the how yoga works, I read it before. When I was just starting on the path, and I just loved it because it was so beautiful and touching.
And it's like, no, I don't
But
see
then
this.
when I read it now for the book club,
But I'm
now
scared
because
to
I'm
take
taking the
that
courses,
new thing.
now
And let go of
so different levels. I love that. Yeah.
And then like
And
I've
then
moved the other day
on
from
Wednesday was that
I'm like I'm still being told you're this, you're unable
do you know
to
what
do
the
this,
bishop
you're
likes?
disabled, you have mental health issues, all of that. I don't want to fulfill that
Yes,
role.
I do. Because Maitreya was her uncle, and he talks about this. So yes, I do know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
So
It builds, right?
Yeah.
It builds through reinforcement. It's like
I just thought just
Yeah.
then,
easier to wait. That's
if we create
what I
that,
hear.
then if
It'll all make
Yeah, I like how you said that. That's
Yeah.
very wise.
I'm disabled and I can't do
And
this.
I'm gonna keep
perpetuating
It's like, here's your jigsaw puzzle for today.
and go. Yeah. And I'll wait for the next one.
That's where you're doing like the amazing race to get clue. Yeah, you have to work on it.
Just by thinking about it, that he's thinking
Hours in anticipation of what
things.
Yeah.
we're going to here.
That's good. You have the wisdom for that, because a lot of
You do.
I don't know. Like a puppy, right? Give it to me now.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And in a way, I'm learning. I don't want to. I'm cautious. I'm cautious too, right? Maybe it's my caution. I'm like, take it slow. Just let it build. And it's
Slow
going
is
to.
good.
Yeah. And if I push myself, I'll just I'll push myself out of the picture.
And then you get people that are,
I don't know, that's for me. That's everyone has to. Everyone knows what they've done, right? Their history shows that.
That's very small. Push myself out of the picture.
You
No,
always
that's
need
me.
wisdom.
Yeah, no, but it's a good thing to remember.
Refuse with it, otherwise, even if you
I was wondering, did you find any nips at the meeting? That's such a place.
No. What color are they? Oh, they're big, huge, honking black nets.
No.
All right, let's
Move on.
I believe so. I clean up there fairly
Oh,
often.
I think you'd see them. I thought I might put them down with all my wet stuff.
I want to ask you about the omniscience and the omnipotence. I understand that Buddhists don't believe in omnipotence because it's your karma that's creating everything in your life. However, why can't you have both? Why can't you have a creator that created, I don't know, the light being, the mind stream, with something that started it, with something at the end? I'm not saying that the creator is responsible for my life, because I am. What about me? How did I get here? Aside from my karma.
I think the rest of the class will answer your question. Hopefully. Okay. So the Buddha is Pramana, right? is correct perception, sees everything pure and fresh every moment. Buddha does not have memory, does not have deduction. He can perceive our deduction, our memory, but he doesn't require deduction or memory because he sees it directly. Okay? Sejikten,
Jikten,
Soapo,
Sawapo,
Rimpa,
Rimpa,
Shin.
Shin.
Jikten is the name for our world, the dirty, suffering world. I actually say it's not a synonym for samsara, but more like a name for a place. Jik is destructible and Ten is basis. And so Wapo is creator of the world. So the Shravakas said that there's a creator. Other Hindu schools said there was a force that created the world. And that he is unchanging but creates the world. That he has been forever. And Geshe Michael says that this is not just an interesting concept, but it's something that many of us have deep in our guts because culture has made us believe that, I guess. That there was a being who created the world and who watched out for us. And we all have different degrees of that idea left. But the idea of a being who made this world is most often there. And this is not to pick on other beliefs, saying we're right, you're wrong. No, it's because if we still have that belief that there is a creator God, it's a block. Why is it a block?
Because you don't take responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't take full responsibility if you believe that the world was created and not that you created it.
And it places limits on our own questioning and growth.
Yeah.
It states, well, we just submit to this is the interpretation, we submit to it. Yeah, we can't evolve the ideas that we evolve. We permute to Buddha, that's our goal. But with this schema, we are obedient subjects, obedient to
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, so it matters to know where the world comes from, where cancer comes from, where pretty flowers come from, right? Where friendships come from, where pain comes from, all of it. It matters to know. And then he says, if there was such a being as a creator God, who is omniscient, then why go through time? Like, why, if he can do anything, then why not just create the whole world, all of us, and then just be done with it in a moment of time? What's the point in sending us all through time? If you can do anything, if you can create, then why not just do it and get it over with, And why if this creator is so powerful, then why go through time? And why make things go on? Why not just build it and wipe it out? If this creator God is not restrained by time, then why does he take all of this time? It doesn't make sense. Rinpa Shin, did I write that? Yeah, Rinpa Shin is in stages. Rinpa is stages. Shin is in. The world, according to our perception, occurs in stages, right? And that's one of the proofs in Buddhism why an unchanging being didn't create the world, because things are happening in steps. Things must happen in steps, right? You create the causes, you nurture the thing, you cultivate it. It's the way that things work. Things are caused, things are changing.
We cause.
So the world is made in stages. It's not made instantaneously. There's no reason for an omnipotent being not to make it all instantaneous. That is one of the proofs why the Supreme Being didn't create the world. So Dharmakirti goes on and says, you change, your God changes. He says he can't be a God forever. You know, what they say is that God was always there, right? Dharmakirti says, no, it's not possible. There has to be a cause for your omniscience. A being who's been perfect, omnipotent for all time, has never suffered, has never had anything that good or bad would happen in a previous version of himself when he was suffering. Therefore, this being couldn't be omniscient. Dharmakirti says, omniscience is caused. Because an omnipotent being has never suffered, therefore never practiced the practices that relieve suffering. Never had to learn the path out of suffering, right? Learn the path out of suffering, and with the powerful anecdote of seeing emptiness directly, and learn how to get out of suffering. So then he says again, you don't have to buy all this, just think about it. Think about it. And then he says, you cannot practice the secret teachings if you don't understand where your world is coming from, or the secret teachings will not work. So what does a person have to be omniscient, to be all-knowing? And that's this one, Langja and Dorja. Say Langja,
Lanja,
Dorja. Langja means things you should take up, and Dorja is things you should get rid of. So things you should take up would be things you should practice, things you should do, the pure side of existence. And Dorja, things you should get rid of, things you should abandon, which is the afflicted side of existence. And we don't know Langjan Dorje very well. We think, if I only exercise a little bit more, if I only, get that extra promotion or work an extra day, then I'll be happier and things will be better. But they never will, They're not the cause of being happy. And we hear it, but we don't buy into it very well because we keep doing it. We keep living our lives that way. So the only being who knows these conditions perfectly well is the Buddha. Yes, he knows all things. He can know how many atoms are in this or that, or can know any scientific thing. There's no use to knowing any of this. The main thing that he does is knowing what we should pick up and we should get rid of, so we can become a being. That's a mission. All the other stuff doesn't matter.
So, if you keep your morality and you meditate and all the things that the Buddhists say you should do, then the only guarantees for that is at some point in your various lifetimes, you will see emptiness directly, become omniscient and a Buddha, but nothing else is guaranteed. But if you keep your morality and do those Buddhist things, then those things are guaranteed.
That's just a side effect, that everything else will get better and sweeter in your life.
But you can't, you can't say, I'm going to do this so I get a promotion. That shouldn't be your motivation. I'm keeping my morality so that one day I will be enlightened. That's my motivation, right?
That would be much
Always.
higher.
So in the process, it might be that I get demoted or dishonored or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But those
Doesn't
are
matter.
just, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
My end result is reaching that place of mind, whether now or billions of lifetimes later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the more you put in, the quicker it'll happen, right? Yeah.
So there's no guarantees.
No. And they won't help you anyways, I was watching this little video the other day, and I really loved this. This was I think a famous yoga teacher who had a 3-minute clip on how to do a handstand. And it was very nice, very clear way of teaching. And then when he finished doing the handstand, he says, but you know what? Even if you can do it, it's not going to change anything. People aren't going to like you more. You're not going to feel happier. Nothing changes. So try it. It's fun. Enjoy the process, but don't get so hung up on wanting to reach it because it's not going to help you. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And he was speaking from something he had learned himself. You could tell for sure that he's been very wanting to reach all these things, and guess what? He's still suffering. He still has pain at night or whatever, right? Getting to do a handstand isn't going to change anything. I like that.
However, what is his motivation for doing it?
I don't know what his
We
motivation
wouldn't
is.
talk about that. Oh God.
So, but in our courses, we're saying that when you're doing something like that, say I'm doing this for my eventual.
Absolutely, you
Right.
can do anything
Like
like
a-
that. I'm not
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
don't ever try to.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's a big picture, yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't try to learn a handstand at all. No, there's nothing wrong with it. It's great. It's fun. And yeah, you can use it as a path, as Sanjeet is saying. You can, you can say, like, by doing this, may my winds enter the center, may become fully happy so I can help other people. Absolutely, you can do that. Yeah, he didn't mention that. I felt like his teaching was just like, people, it's great, but it's not worth anything,
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Don't get a big head over it.
Okay.
Or accomplishment. Don't get a big head over.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, so that's what Dharmakirti says too. It's not a big deal to know the atoms of an object. It's not helping you. If that's omniscience, then there's no point. And Shantideva says we chase after the wrong things to make us happy. So then we start to explore how we can know that the Buddha is totally correct through the 4 Arya truths. So what is a mental affliction?
Anger.
Yeah, absolutely, that's one of them. So mental afflictions, Geshe Michael Roach translate them, kleshas, as bad thoughts. Sanskrit is klesha, right? From the root klesh, which means to bother you. Things that bother you, that disturb your peace of mind. And the main mental afflictions irritate you all day long, which are, anger, jealousy, desire, greed, ignorance. I mean, it's all steeped in ignorance. Right? If you didn't have these afflictions, you would be happy. And your body and mind have been produced by mental afflictions. And until you see emptiness directly, you will continue to see these mental afflictions. So the 4 Arya truths are translated right here. Goklam lam dukkum.
Goklam
Dukkum. And apparently this is the most shortened version for describing them. Duk, I don't know how to say, is the first noble truth. We call it Arya truth, not noble. Because you don't have to be a noble, you don't have to be a king to see for Arya truths, right? So we say Arya truth. What is the first Arya truth? You know?
First, what type of truth?
Arya truth.
Arya?
Mm-hmm.
That's noble.
This is what you see when you come out of deep
When
direct
you come
perception.
out of seeing emptiness, there's 4 truths that you will experience. And the first one is the truth of.
You see where everything comes from.
The first one is called the truth of suffering. And yes, you are right, but to divide them in 4, the first one is the truth of suffering. And the Buddha has said that all changing things are suffering.
Sorry?
All changing things are suffering. These are the first teachings that the Buddha gave. Arya truth. So when you come out of the direct perception of emptiness, you know these 4 truths. You experience them directly. Okay. So the first one is truth of suffering. The second one is kun, is source of suffering. So the number 1 and 2 are the impure side of existence, and then are through 3 and 4 are pure side of existence. So number 3 is gok, stopping suffering. So there's an end. There's an end to suffering. And then the fourth one is lam. There's a path to the end of suffering. So you have life is suffering. There's a cause to suffering. There's an end. There's a path to the end of suffering. That's what he taught.
If Jesus is the Buddha,
Mm-hmm.
he refers to his father a lot, meaning God. Do the Buddhists ever address that?
I haven't heard. No. But it can all be applied, the same.
I can't imagine why Buddhism would say there's no creator, yet all the major religions out there say there is a creator. Why there is that? Why so many other religions would have it wrong? I can't reconcile that in my head.
No, it's a good thing to think about. And I do think that.
I think it comes down to the definition of creator. Like for me, I don't think God. I think my karma creates my suffering. I understand that. I don't hold God responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's the main important thing. And I think there are many people that follow a different religion that would think that same way too, that they do feel responsible.
Yeah.
It's not to diss any other religion. I mean, I've gone to church quite a few times in the recent months, and I can tell you that now compared to 10 years ago, going to the church, I hear complete different opposite things than what I heard before, right? So it is empty. Like all those teachings are empty too. And I find it profound what the minister is talking about, and it makes perfect sense to me. So I'm saying that how you think other people see their religion, you don't know that either, right?
True.
That is completely unique to every person, how they, and you don't know. You only know your own thoughts. You only know how you perceive other religions and how you perceive all these crazy ideas,
Yeah.
So don't think that you know how they think. Yeah. Okay. Because it's always changing. Like I said, my experience is completely opposite, right? And the church is the church.
Yeah.
It's my perception. My karma shifted, so now I can hear something else. Okay, so why is the Buddha unerring and perfectly correct? Here they give the argument that he describes those 4 Arya truths so perfectly, especially the first one, that life is suffering. Everything that's changing will end. Every pleasure will end in pain. Everything we own will be destroyed. Everything turns into suffering. And they say because he described that perfectly well, we can take him as an authoritative source and believe the other the other three or Arya truths also, even though if we might not fully understand them yet, we can understand the first one. People are dying around us all the time. We can see that he's right about that life is suffering. So then the other ones must be true too. That's the argument here. Because he described it perfectly. And then we can use some faith for a while until we can prove the other truths and the other teachings to ourselves too. I was reading a book the other day, and it gave the analogy of an airplane, saying, I don't understand how an airplane works at all. I know nothing about it, yet I understand that there must be like a big engine in it that's going to take us. Even though I don't understand it, I'm still putting my trust in it because I think there's some truth to this airplane thing, right? So I'm going to go in it and fly from one country to the next. And then maybe later I'll understand more how it actually works, that this thing can bring us from A to B. So I thought that's kind of cool. So we can see that the same way, like the first truth he explains so perfectly well. Well, let's use that to take us to understand more, like that.
I'm just thinking too, like if I go on a plane, it's because I don't understand how it works, but I really want to get to Toronto.
Yeah.
Quick, so I'm going to do it. So in this case, like, I really don't know how this works, but I really like where I see this is taking me. So I'm going to take this, and then maybe I'll understand
Beautiful.
the mechanics later.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. I think that's really great. Yeah. So that's what J says, because everything he says about suffering is true. And the rest must be true. And that doesn't mean you don't question. You should. Absolutely. So that's the proof here. Then the last little bit, and then we're done, is there's a quote from the Abhidharma Kosha, chapter 4, that says, Lele, Jikten Natsok, Ki Deni Sempa Dang De. I think DE must be day. I don't know. Karma, lay is karma. And the second le is from. Jikten is the world, this planet. And Natsuk is all the various ones. Ki is come. So all worlds, planets come from karma. That's what it translates to. According to the Abhidharma Kosha, there are many planets inhabited by many beings like us. Sempa, Deni is that, meaning that karma. Sempa is movement of the mind, shifting of the mind. Dang is and Deje is what it makes you do or say. The cognition of karma is any time the mind moves or anything inspired by the movement of that mind. Karma, so the definition of karma. Karma is the movement of the mind and what it inspires us to do or say. All the various worlds come from karma. The definition is accepted by all schools of Buddhism, but not all schools of Buddhism understand how emptiness ties in to karma, how our perceptions tie into it. So we must study that, otherwise karma is hard to swallow. Every mind is like a long spaghetti noodle that goes back and forward into time. Every mind is separate. They can be near each other, but they cannot mix. And all beings in this world have collected similar karma to live in this world. Right? Collective karma. Right now we have collective karma to be here in the same room. To all be here on a Friday afternoon studying these teachings. Doesn't mean all our experiences are the same, or they're all very unique. But we do have a shared karma here. And then they give the example of, at the border, Tijuana versus San Diego. They share the same land and air, yet one part is extremely poor and the other part isn't. Very comfortable. So you share karma of being a human being in the same country, yet each of our karmas is so different that our experiences are very different. Yeah. And there will be a time when the last sentient being becomes a Buddha. The number of minds are finite. Yeah, it will never change. That's a crazy one, right?
There will be a time
when every being becomes a Buddha. Yeah. And the omniscient being knows exactly what it is that everyone needs, right? To get everyone to that place in their due time. Yeah,
And
everything can be.
And then what do they do after that?
Have a big party.
Endless party, infinite party.
well, there's
Hope.
yeah.
But apparently we're all enlightened, we just don't know it, right? Because there's no time.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're
already
We're on
there.
different planes, right?
Yeah. We're already there. We just have the blocks. We don't see it. Maybe you do. I don't.
Yeah, remove all the suffering and you'll become a very special being. You'll see yourself as a special being. A Buddha can already see you in that way.
Yeah.
And knows what you should pick up or let go in order for you to experience yourself that way too.
So is that again different for everybody? What you should pick up on,
Absolutely.
what you should. It's different.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah, because
Wow.
we've all got different karma. We all have our different flavors of kleshas, right? I mean,
So let's say we go back to that promotion thing, and I don't get the promotion. That's what I needed, right? And if Carol got it, that's what she needed for her enlightenment. Is that right?
yeah, well, maybe for you it was a really big deal and you got really upset, and maybe for Carol, whatever, she didn't care. Like then maybe that wasn't something she needed to work on a lot. But for you it was. For Carol it'd be something else that would trigger her mind to get afflicted in whatever she needs to work on. Yeah.
So is the point that we have to keep getting afflicted and overcoming the afflictions?
Well, the goal is not to become afflicted anymore, but the afflictions will help you to purify all the parts of you that are impure, right? It helps you tap into the wisdom and use it as a path. And if you don't have any afflictions left, then
So my afflictions are really what's purifying me and not the good things.
the afflictions,
My afflictions, if I choose to purify it,
yeah.
so if someone cuts me off in traffic, I say, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to bring me closer to enlightenment than someone saying, why don't you go ahead of me?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, both. Yeah, you avoid bad deeds, you do good deeds. It's all part of it. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think of
But getting rid of all your kleshas, attacking them as they come up, yeah, will propel you forward, absolutely. And can move very quickly.
I'm trying to think of the analogy of the lotus. The lotus only grows in dirt,
Mm-hmm.
right? So does that mean that that's our food?
Yeah, it's a poison.
It's the poison, right?
You talk
So-
about the peacock, right? Eat the poison
Eat
and
the poison
transform
peacock.
into something beautiful. Yeah.
So we should actually be embracing all the shit
Absolutely.
that's going on.
Yeah.
Embrace.
Because it's gonna keep coming anyways
Yeah.
until it's not.
Yeah.
And while it's there, yeah, use it to your best abilities. And some days that might be really hard, other days you might be more clear and it's easier, right? But yes, eat the poison and turn into a beautiful peacock.
Photosynthesize it. Become another lotus.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think we are finished in here. Yeah, let me just check all the questions.
You can rejoice in the lady letting you in.
Yes.
That's planting, right?
Yes. Yes.
Rejoice and dedicate.
Yeah.
Yes, we're done, ladies. Way to hang in there. That was a pretty nutty class.
That was good.
It's a good
It
class.
was a good
Yeah.
class. But it hopefully gives you something to think about.
A lot to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, great. You guys awesome.
Sashi Buki
Jokshin Shi Nyandegen Padi Sange Shindu Mikte Uwa Gitokananda Shingla Chupasha Sunam Yeshe Soksukshi Sunam Yeshe Leshonwe Nampa Kuni Dopasha. If we can all help to put out all the mats that are here, so it's going to be a big class later today. That would be great.